Hello, students, and welcome to the Science 10 classroom. Today we're going to be talking about the types of energy, and if you've watched that introductory video already, you know that there are two major types of energy: potential energy, or the energy that is stored and has the ability to do stuff but isn't quite yet doing it, or kinetic energy. And kinetic energy. And kinetic energy is the energy of movement, or the ability to do or the ability to move things. All right, so I'm going to use these notes that to guide the conversation. Again, you can download them from my website, or they'll be attached to the assignment. I personally am not going to be collecting or verifying that these notes are completed. It's just something that you might find helpful in order to learn and remember and retain this information. So energy is the ability to do work. So you know when you aren't doing your work in class and your teacher comes by and they'll ask you, why aren't you doing your work? And you're not giving an answer, and they go, have you eaten today? And that's generally because if you don't eat, you don't have energy and you can't do work. That's kind of the same idea here. So if you don't have energy, you can't do work. And if you don't have energy, you can't really move. So energy is the ability to do work, not just school work, but just all kinds of work, which we'll talk about later, and or the ability to make things move. This isn't just people we're talking about the whole entire universe as we know it, and the energy that exists within it. So again, there's the two types. We're going to talk about kinetic energy first. So kinetic energy can be abbreviated as KE, or capital E with a little subscript K. I'm a little partial to the second one because I just am, but both of them are correct. So kinetic energy is the energy of motion. It is the energy contained in the movement. I can't write small enough to fit on that spot. It's the movement of the object, or the movement inside the object. Potential energy, which is abbreviated as PE, or capital E subscript P, and again, I'm more partial to the second one, is stored energy. This is the energy that can be kept for later use, to be stored. All right, so those aren't the only two types of energy out there. There's other kinds of energy, which you'll talk about if you take Physics 11, but those are the two main ones that we want to talk about and that we will be talking about in this course. Now, there are 10 types of energy, and all of these 10 types are either going to be a type of kinetic energy or a type of potential energy. So we have mechanical energy. This is the energy of a moving object. So an example is the energy that a ball rolling has, or a person walking has. So what kind of energy do you think that is? And that is kinetic energy. Okay. Light is the form of energy you can see. It's the energy of the electromagnetic spectrum, that whole Roy G. Biv. That's created by the wavelengths of light. That's or what we call the visible light spectrum. I named my daughter after the V in Roy G. Biv. Yeah. All right. But these are, light is actually moving energy, and so it is also kinetic energy. Okay. Electrical is the energy from the moving electrons going from the negative terminal to the positive terminal, or between charged particles like lightning. This is kinetic energy again, because the electrons are moving. Thermal energy is the energy of particles inside an object, so whether or not they're moving lots or not moving at all. And an idea of this is really hot water. The water particles are moving around even more because they've been heated up. Snow, there's not a lot of movement inside the object of the water, which is snow, which is frozen, but we're still talking about the movement or lack thereof, and that is kinetic energy again. So heat is actually thermal energy and is a kinetic energy type. And sound is the energy you can hear. Now, sound waves move as well. So when I'm talking to you, wavelengths of sound are coming out of my larynx, out of my mouth, into the recorder and you are hearing them. They're coming out of the speaker and traveling to your ears. That is moving, and so that is a kinetic energy as well. Another type is chemical energy. This is the form of energy stored in matter. Remember, chemicals is matter. Anything that takes up space and has mass is matter, and it has a chemical composition, and there is energy stored in that. And we obtain that energy when we digest the food. We obtain that energy when we hook up a battery to an electrical circuit and complete it and turn it on. We obtain that energy when we burn fossil fuels, but if we don't do something to it, it just stays stored. So this is potential energy. Gravitational energy is the energy an object has when it is above a surface. So if I was to hold this highlighter, hold out here, it has some potential energy. It's not doing anything right now, just hanging out. But if I were to drop it, it's all of a sudden done something. So it had the potential to do something, but right up until I dropped it, it wasn't doing anything. So it's stored gravitational potential energy. Okay. Nuclear energy is stored inside the atom. So there's a whole bunch of energy stored inside the atom. We're going to talk about this one a lot more. And if you were to, split that atom, and it would release a whole bunch of energy. But unless we do something to that atom and cause it to split open or cause it to get bombarded by other things, other particles, become bigger, unless something happens to it, it's just sitting there stored. So nuclear energy is also potential energy. Magnetic energy is the energy that causes some types of metals to attract or repel, like a compass, a fridge, or a magnet. This is also considered potential energy because you can hold them apart, but there's still that force there. And then if you were to let them go, you do that. Or if you've ever tried to get the two north ends of magnets to go together, they push apart. Okay. And elastic energy stored in an object that can be compressed or stretched. So you've ever had someone point a stretched out elastic band at your face, you flinch because you know what happens if they were to release it. But if they don't release it, it's just all that energy stored up in the elastic band. So again, it's potential energy. Now, if they were to release it, all that nice stored elastic potential energy gets converted into the energy of motion, the kinetic energy. So it ends up being converted into mechanical energy. And we're going to talk about that conversion later. Right now, energy transformation is a change from one form to another form of energy. Energy is constantly changing from one type to another, but it is never created or destroyed. This is the law of conservation of energy, and this happens all around us and throughout the universe. So, you guys have been given an attachment to the assignment where you are to determine whether what kind of energy is going in and what kind of energy is coming out. So the first example is a blender. So a blender is connected to the power socket in your wall, the outlet, the power outlet. So the energy coming into the blender is electrical energy because it's attached to the electricity, right? And then once you turn it on, that electrical energy is going to be converted. It's going to be transformed. And it's going to be transformed mainly into mechanical energy. It's going to spin the blade at the bottom of the blender. That's mechanical, that's motion, that's things going moving. But it's not the only type of energy that comes out. It also, I don't know if you've ever held a blender that you've put on for a long time, it heats up. So it actually also gets converted or transformed a little bit into heat energy. And can you hear a blender when it goes on? Yes, so it also gets transformed into a little bit of sound energy. So all that electricity comes in and then it gets transformed mainly into mechanical, but there's also a little bit of sound and a little bit of thermal energy and maybe something else. Maybe if yours has lights that go on, maybe some light energy as well. So the idea of this activity is for you to identify what type of energy out of those 10 types I just went over go into the item mentioned, and what type of energy or energies, there can be more than one, come out of it. And that is the assignment for this part. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope that helped, and I'll talk to you guys soon.